Yo, what's up, y'all? It's your boy, Ogechi Aghaji, aka Oaghaji, and I'm back with another video. Now, before I begin, just want to let y'all know in advance, like I usually do, that if y'all hear any background noises, talking, things like that, that's my family. So, without further ado, let's continue. Today is going to be another review, and today's review is going to be on the 1984 Taiwanese kung fu film classic Shaolin vs. Lama, starring Alexander Ray, Shan, William Yan, fight choreography by Pang Gun, and directed by Lee Sonan. Excuse me. And I have my notes right here. It's mostly the plot synopsis, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna read through this just that way I won't sound like a fool. And then I'm gonna give you the full on review. So yeah, let's begin. A skilled kung fu fighter named Song Yi Tin is looking for a kung fu master that can defeat him and teach him new techniques. Then he meets a Shaolin monk named Shao Siyu that introduces Song Yi Tin Shaolin teachings. First, it was Suyu's Grand Master Puchier, who, unlike the other Shaolin monks, eats meat and drinks wine, who was also previously known as Yuan Lan. Puchier defeats Yu Ting, and the latter wants to be his student. At first, Puchier refuses during their numerous bouts, but after helping a young female fighter as well as the Shaolin Temple from former student Chi Kung, who is actually a Tibetan Lama warrior monk, to steal a sacred scroll, Puchier takes him as a student, and Sun Yi Tin becomes Chi Sing. Later on, after both Chi Sing and Puchier were defeated by Chi Kung, the latter died, and Chi Sing wanted to avenge his master, decides to learn a new technique called the Buddha finger. That was pretty good, right? Let's talk about the characters, story, as well as the acting, and yeah, let's get to it. The story is actually pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? That the fact that you have a main character who wants to learn uh, from a master but wants to be defeated first. You know what I'm saying? And so that way, he can have a master that can actually teach him some stuff, which is cool. And then he gets into some hijinks with a Shaolin monk, you know what I'm saying, who introduces, the fighter to his master who likes to eat meat and drink wine, unlike the other Shaolin monks and warrior Buddhist monks and Buddhist monks in general, which is cool. I like that one. I like the fact that Sun Yat-sen, like I said, he's this skilled fighter who wants to learn, but then he gets defeated and wants to learn from his master, who refuses at first. But I also like the fact that the master, Puchier, was able to come around and teach Su Yat-sen, you know what I'm saying, afterwards, after they, helped, this young female fighter who's skilled in kung fu, especially in the sword play, to fight against, this guy named Ching Kung, who was taught by Puchier, you know what I'm saying, and I like that. Um, at first, it doesn't really work out, when, Sun Yat becomes Chi San and becomes a monk. He's learned at first he gets it, and then he fails or whatnot, and Butcher gets a little frustrated at times, you know what I'm saying? A lot of comedy and hijinks, but it also has definitely some seriousness as well, which I like. Especially with, when both characters meet, Ching Kong, played by Shan, wants to get the scroll, who's to say who at first who wants to get the girl, you know what I'm saying, and all that good stuff. Alexander Ray definitely did his thing as a leading man. He's definitely convincing who a guy who's skilled at kung fu, but then gets defeated by the master and becomes and gains more humility, especially when he learns the Buddha finger, which I definitely enjoyed. Um, I don't want to say too much about the story because I don't want to spoil it for y'all, but yeah, the story gets a 4.5 to 5 for sure, and the characters definitely get a 4.5 to 5 as well. And as for the acting, like I said, Alexander Ray, William Yan, Shan, they all did their thing, as well as the other actors. So They definitely get a 4.5 out of 5 as well. You know what I'm saying? Now, now, one thing before I talk about the action, the story might have some similarities to the 1978 Hong Kong martial arts film from Shaw Brothers, the 36th Chamber of Shaolin, directed by Lao Galan. But it does have some differences to make it stand out, which I like too. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's talk about the action. The action in this, top notch. Some great old school kung fu action. You know, the kung fu shapes, you know what I'm saying? And the kicks and all that is just top notch. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, yeah, Taiwan deserves more props when it comes to their martial arts films, especially their kung fu films and wuxia films as well. You feel me? When people think of the martial arts films in Asia, you know, they mostly think of, you know, the stuff from Hong Kong and Japan and whatnot. But Taiwan has some bangers too when it comes to martial arts films, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, they definitely deserve their props. And Shaolin Lama is definitely a great example of that, you know what I'm saying? And you know, the choreo, you know, Pangan choreographed the fight scenes very well. And the fight scenes were shot, you know, very well, especially with a low budget compared to, you know, especially compared to other martial arts films in both Hong Kong and even Taiwan to an extent. You know what I'm saying? And this was made during the mid '80s, which is definitely, you know, toply, you know, cool to know. Um, the film was shot pretty cool too. You know what I'm saying? Shot, you know, sometimes in the studio and also in location in, you know, like I said, in Taiwan and things like that, which is cool, which I like. The lighting, it's not, you know, perfect, but hey, it definitely worked well for what it did back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Especially in a low budget. And you know, the editing in the fights is also top notch as well. You know what I'm saying? I definitely enjoy that. So the action gets a 5 out of 5 tops. Cinematography 4.5. Lighting like a 3.5 out of 5, and the editing gets a 4 out of 5. Now, let's talk about the music. The music is like a mix, is basically traditional Chinese music, you know, mostly. But it definitely works within the film, you know, especially in the opening where all the actors that know the martial arts introduce their martial arts skills, especially Alexander Lo Ray, you know, who was, you know, a Taekwondo champion, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? Which is cool. And the female warrior played by the actress, I didn't get to know her name, but she did her thing, kissing her swordplay around the opening crawl. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the music playing. So the music definitely gets a 4 out of 5 in my book. Overall, Shaolin versus Lama is a great kung fu film classic from Taiwan. You know what I'm saying? I definitely recommend it. So it definitely gets a 4 out of 5. Hopefully, y'all enjoy this review. You know what I'm saying? Stay tuned for more and stay tuned for more other videos on the way. If y'all like this video, y'all can like it, share it. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Oaghaji27, my other social media accounts. I mean, y'all know what time it is. So, yeah, with all that being said, this is your boy, Ogechi Aghaji, aka Oaghaji, aka the Pervy Sensei, signing out. Peace.